What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Hong Kong horror and Mr. Vampire review. Did I say I was going to be finished with the Mr. Vampire movies for the rest of this year? I decided to go ahead and review Mr. Vampire 4. Having said that, I'm glad that they came back for Mr. Vampire 1992 after this one. I'm doing these out of order. That is a much better wrap-up to the series than this one would have been. Also, you have to be careful of the names of many of these films. Many of them have alternate names. There is a clips of, or a whole movie called Mr. Vampire 4 on YouTube. It's not Mr. Vampire 4. It's one of the different ones. Also, on this set here, they also have Vampire versus Vampire sandwiched in there. And then they refer to Magic Cop as Mr. Vampire 5. I believe this is really kind of a separate movie. This is an excellent movie starring Lam Ching-ying. I may or may not get to this one this year. In the meantime, check out the Hobbs Horror review of Magic Cop. He's also reviewed such Hong Kong films as The Blue Jean Monster, which is a wacky film involving ghosts and magic. So check out Hobbs Horror. He's willing to try different films. And he knows I love these films, so a while ago he sent me a bunch of J-horror films, but also a couple films about Taoism and magic, Taoism Fighter, and then another one called Taoism Drunkard. Now these films appear to have, I watched one of them, appear to have a lot of comedy and a lot of magic, but not really the horror element, so we'll be reviewing those later. But check out Hobbs Horror for sure. And let's get to this one. This is an interesting one in that it does not star Lam Ching-ying. This is the one film on this set that does not star Lam Ching-ying. It is a Lam Ching-yingless Mr. Vampire film, stepping into the role of the Taoist priest, known as the Four-Eyed Taoist, as I put my reading glasses on, is Anthony Chan, who has appeared in many of these films, including Mr. Vampire. He is a rival to Wu Ma's character. Wu Ma, of course, had a cameo in Mr. Vampire 3, veteran actor and director. He was in a movie called The Dead and Deadly, which is an earlier ghostly movie on this set, which I may get to this year. He was in such films as Righting Wrongs. And then he would appear in a movie called Exorcist Master, which is on this set. Again, I'm not sure I'm going to get to it this year. Looking forward to that one. And as far as the Taoist priest, you've got Anthony Chan. He was in a movie the same year as this called Spooky Spooky, which is, I don't believe is on this one, unless it's known under a different title. He was also in such films as Armor of God with Jackie Chan, and a movie called Rigor Mortis in 2013, which is an interesting film because it's basically a reunion of many of the actors who were surviving at the time of these movies, and it goes over some of the same concepts: vampires, ghosts, the boundary between the living and the dead, but in a much more serious manner. And it's perhaps a little confusing and mystifying in parts, but it's visually something else. So if you're interested in the subject matter, check that out. At the end, they have a nice tribute to some of the Mr. Vampire actors who have passed away. And that one also stars Kara Wai, who is a favorite of mine from many of the Kung Fu films. So also in this one, playing the role of the assistant to Anthony Chan's Taoist character is Ka Lok Chin. And I'm looking at this guy going, he looks familiar in the face. Turns out he's Siu Ho Chin's brother, Siu Ho Chin from Mr. Vampire. And Ka Lok Chin was an actor and a stuntman in over 120 movies. I think he did stunts for over 60 movies. And he handles most of the action and martial arts scenes in this movie. And just like his brother, he's very capable. So he's very good. There's also, Wu Ma's character has a female assistant. So when Anthony Chan's male assistant meets her, there's a little mix-up where he doesn't really realize she's a female and actually touches her in a certain way. This movie has some lowbrow humor, but he sort of develops a crush on her. So some of those scenes are pretty funny. In the beginning, Anthony Chan's character is guiding some vampires back to their final resting place. He will eventually meet up with his assistant in the house right next to Wu Ma's character. Are you following this? So the Buddhist priest and the Taoist priest have houses in the middle of nowhere, but they're right next to each other, like window to window, which I guess creates a lot of the friction. So the early scene when he's like leading these vampires is pretty good, and they do some different things comedically that they haven't done before. Like he comes to a low branch, so he does a limbo, and of course all the vampires follow him. Then he actually tries to get a frog to take over, leading the procession of vampires, and that works for a little bit, but then the frog starts going this way and that way. So what do you think happens? Then he meets up with a demon called the Fox Demon, played by Pauline Yuk-Wan Wong, who has appeared in Mr. Vampire 2 and 3. I especially gave her high praise for Mr. Vampire 3. So we see yet another countermeasure that we haven't seen before. She attacks him, he's got his head down, and then he looks up, and he's made goggles out of those coins, the same coins that are used to make up the swords, the round coins with the rectangular holes in the middle, so that sort of temporarily defeats her. She comes back at the end of the movie. And a lot of that action is very good. Having said that, here's sort of the big thing you need to know about this movie. A big part of the middle part is just like comedy, and a lot of it's kind of goofy. It doesn't really have much to do with magic or vampires or anything. It's just the two priests, the Taoist and the Buddhist, disagreeing with each other. There's a lengthy eating scene where all kinds of crazy things happen. I mean, if you want to see someone get beans stuck in their nose and then snort them out into the mouth of the other guy, this is your movie. Well, eventually, some soldiers are escorting a prince through the village, and that is just when the Fox Demon and her some henchmen or hench ghosts attack, and the action is pretty good. And I have to say, there are times the vampires essentially look like they just have white makeup on. There are times they look a little more crusty and dead. In this one, this has some of the best makeup out of any of the Mr. Vampire movies. I mean, it's like it's like 1/3 vampire, 1/3 skeleton, and 1/3 zombie. It looks really cool. But again, all these really good action scenes, you gotta wait a while to get to them. And that's sort of the biggest drawback of the film. I think perhaps audiences at the time who were familiar with Wu Ma and Anthony Chan may have gotten a little more out of it, perhaps. I'm not really sure. So, how would I review this one? I'll give my ranking for this one, and then I'll go back and give my ranking for Mr. Vampire. Action. Here's the thing. When the action is on, it's good, but there's just not as much of it, so I got to go 3 out of 5 hopping vampires for the action. The comedy, how many fake vampire teeth am I going to give this one? Some of it was pretty funny, I have to say. So I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 fake vampire teeth. The atmosphere. Now, for the atmosphere, I probably should have named it horror elements, including atmosphere, makeup effects, and everything, because, man, those makeup effects were pretty good. But again, it takes a while to get to it. If you watch the trailer, it looks like it's nonstop. The trailer doesn't really show you the long middle part, but, so I'll go 3 out of 5. I'll go to 3 out of 5 gnarly vampire faces for the makeup, for the atmosphere and makeup effects. Now, I can't do Lam Ching Ying unibrows for the overall rating because he's not in this one, but Wu Ma has got these bushy caterpillar eyebrows. So I'm going to go with, not surprisingly, 3 out of 5 Wu Ma bushy caterpillar eyebrows for my total ranking of the film. Depending on your tolerance for that middle part, some of you might rank this one like more of a 2. If you think that's hilarious, it might be more of a 4, but I'm going with 3 out of 5. So let's go back and rank the vampire film that started it all as far as the Mr. Vampire films go. Mr. Vampire, which I reviewed last year. How many hopping vampires am I going to give that one? I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 hopping vampires. Now, having said that, I'm glad I've watched many of the other films on this set. Because if I'm giving Mr. Vampire 4 out of 5, that means there's some movies that are even better as far as the action, which is a high bar. As far as the comedy of Mr. Vampire, I'm going 5. 5. Very original. I mean, that's where I got the fake vampire teeth rating from, this movie. So this one gets 5 out of 5 fake vampire teeth. The assistants in that one are really funny. Really pretty. It's funny. And as far as the atmosphere, I'm going to go with a solid. Yeah, I'm going to give it 5. It's close. I'm gonna give it 5. I'm gonna give it 5, but I'm gonna say that there's some movies that even have better atmosphere, spooky atmosphere than Mr. Vampire. So I'm going to go 5 out of 5 for atmosphere. Overall, Mr. Vampire, it's going to have to be 5 out of 5. Lam Ching Ying, Unibrow's the one that started it all. But having said that, be encouraged. There's an even better movie, or maybe more, on this set. So I'm going to get to those soon. Let me know what your thoughts are about Mr. Vampire 4, if you have any, whether or not you have any interest in seeing those. And check out, once again, my friend Hobbs Horror for his review of Magic Cop. Thanks a lot. Later.